Have they got the players? Have they got the quality? And has Philippe Clement got the strategy? It'll be really, really interesting to find out. And I just think, and it's like this for all Scottish sides, as I said, happy for Celtic to take a point in the road. I think that's good. Really want Hearts to continue to punch their weight. I think they'll have a difficult night tomorrow. I think Rangers will have a difficult night. But this is good for Scottish football. It's good for our reputation. It just makes the whole game in this country feel better about itself if we can stand up to some of these sides and get results. The Rangers' result and performance, okay, the result wasn't top drawer away in Nice, but it was very good, and the result was absolutely sensational. So, and that just helps people to think, do you know what, maybe Scottish football, maybe we look down our nose on it, and no more so than our neighbours from across the border. They think we're just a bunch of second raters. They think we're kiddie on merchants, and they're ready to clobber Ange all over the place if, or they certainly will clobber him all over the place, but they don't expect for a second this is anything other than a routine Spurs win. If Rangers can really make a match of it, I think that's the first case, that's the first sort of target for Philippe Clement. If he can get a result out of it, wow. And the momentum that would help build, and the sort of positivity that would rush through the place ahead of going to face Celtic at the weekend. I think it really, I know what you're saying, I know it's a distraction, but it's really important. It's here, they're going to have to deal with it. They have to try and take whatever positives they can out of it, and that does involve a good performance, and if they can get a result, as I said, wow.
Let me hit you with some of the comments from our loyal viewers. William Sloan has written in on YouTube saying, even if they've seen more of it, and I think he means Ange Ball, not sure the record would suggest they know how to deal with it.
No, that's true, but you can only, you've got experience, you've got tapes to look back on, you've
experienced it.
And you've spoken to the players previously about it. Yeah, it helps with learning. That you look for any advantage you can take. I accept, Rangers weren't particularly good at dealing with it first time around. Are they going to be any better at dealing with it now that Ange Ball is being played by a group of players of a higher quality? Possibly not. But as I said, marginal gains, you look for any slight advantage you might be able to find. And the fact is that Rangers have a back catalogue of what Ange Postecoglou's football looks like.
Robert Livingston chimes in saying, I've watched the number of live Spurs games lately. They've lost 7 Premier League fixtures, most of them because of bad defending. As a team, they're worth over £1 billion, but this Tottenham side were all over the shop against Chelsea. If Rangers get space like that, they'll surely score goals. And this one as well. I'll
counter you that with 2 words.
Go on.
Cyril Dessers.
Come on, that's a
no, it's true. It's true. If Cyril Dessers is leading the front line, look, he's right. That Spurs defence leaves gaps all over the shop. Yeah. And they'll be even further weakened tomorrow night. As we said at the start of this show, Ange Postecoglou was speaking when we came on, and he talked about, I'm going to send out a young side, or he said something along those lines. Yeah. It'll be good for the young players to experience this. Now, that's interesting.
I can jump in, Keith, with the exact quote. This is Ange Postecoglou in his press conference today. He said, looking forward to the game. This is the game that stood out to me most, given my history up here. The atmosphere is all part of the experience. We have a young team. The more we can expose them to games like this, the better.
His first team isn't a young team. So what is that? Is that a clue? Or is he trying to drop in a red herring? We'll need to find out tomorrow night. But my point being, the defence will be weakened anyway, because Romero's out for 6 weeks. Van der Ven came back for that Chelsea game, was rushed back for the Chelsea game, came off, I think, towards the end. I'm not sure he'll want to play him. So the middle of a defence, which is already pretty ropey, the 2 best centre defenders, I think, certainly one of them, possibly 2, unlikely to play. That does give Rangers an opportunity, because it is a flaky defence, and we've seen it week on week in the English Premier League. My question is, if you're playing Cyril Dessers as your central striker, is he good enough to expose it? Is he good enough to take whatever chances come his way? Because history would tell you that that's not necessarily going to be the case. Or does Clement look at it and say, I'm going to go with Egeman. I'm going to let him lead the line. That in itself is an experimental sort of a decision, because you've got just no idea what this kid might be capable of producing, or the opposite. How far out his depth he might be against experienced English Premier League defenders. So there's so much to factor into this. It's going to be fascinating. If I'm Philippe Clement, I'm just not sure that. I think there's obvious choices for him, and the obvious one is Danilo can't play, so you play Dessers, and you stick with Igaman on the left-hand side and Czerny on the right. I think less obvious would be to put Bayrami back into the team. Now, be that in the Hadji position as a number 10. Play Igaman through the middle. What do you do on the left-hand side if you're not playing Bayrami there? So maybe you don't play a 10. Maybe you go with your three central midfielders, nice and robust and strong, in Diomande, Barron and Raskin. And you forgo the number 10 role for this match. Probably wouldn't be a bad idea. And let Bayrami float in from the left-hand side to take up more central positions. But it all comes down to, do you trust Cyril Dessers in this match? And he's given him a lot of rope over the course of time, hasn't he? And he has placed his trust in him. But I just feel on nights like this, Rangers might not get that many chances. If they get 2 or 3 and Dessers was to miss 2 or 3, I don't know what that does to him in terms of confidence in his relationship with the supporters. Because they've already kind of run out of patience.
I don't know about you, Keith, right? But before we move on from Rangers, I wanted to get my usual predictions in. And I was thinking about this earlier. I'm starting to lean towards Rangers maybe getting a result tomorrow night, just purely because Philippe Clement, I mean, he might be the luckiest manager. I mean, any other Rangers manager in history, in the whole club's history, would have been sacked by now. But here he is, still in a job, resurgent now after several wins. And if he does get a victory tomorrow night, it's one of Rangers' all-time great European nights.
Is it? Yeah, it's certainly in terms of a Battle of Britain game in European competition. Yeah, it would be. I can't call it for the simple reason is I've got no idea what we're going to get in terms of what does the Spurs team look like, what does the Rangers team look like, what's the atmosphere like? Because that's a big factor, by the way. Andy, when we were speaking to Andy, he mentioned that there wasn't a great atmosphere at Ibrox for the Lyon match. When you compare it to what it was like at Ibrox on those Thursday nights on the run to Seville, where the place was absolutely bouncing, full of enthusiasm, anticipation, excitement. You feel it, the place was crackling. I think a consequence of the poor domestic form and the fact that they weren't at Ibrox, weren't in their own stadium at the start of the season, and the sort of kind of general feeling of malaise, I think that has contributed to a drop-off in terms of the atmosphere that's being generated inside Ibrox on a Thursday night. Rangers' best results have come away from home in this competition. If the fans can find it in their hearts to forgive and forget so much of what they've had to put up with this season and regenerate that sort of Thursday night magic which they produced on that previous run, that could rattle a Spurs side if that Spurs side is full of young, inexperienced players. In fact, I'd go as far as say it probably will rattle them. So, who knows? There's so many different factors.